But for the time being, let's train our lens on the biggest story of the day, and that is, of course, the Apex Court coming out with some very important announcements in connection with the Adani Group. Now, first and foremost, the Apex Court has set up a marquee panel to review allegations against the Adani Group. It has also directed SEBI to probe the matter, to probe allegations of related party transactions and any other breach of securities law, and submit that report to this special panel that's being set up in 2 months' time. So it's happening in a very time-bound fashion as directed by the Apex Court. Ashmit with all the details.
Well, an important judgment this coming in from the top court, the Supreme Court, giving much needed clarity on the regulatory path that needs to be followed from this point on. And towards that end, there are two key takeaways from these proceedings. The number one takeaway here is that the Supreme Court, just as it had said, will not accept recommendations from either the petitioner or the government, will go ahead, will make his own expert committee to study this matter. And towards that end, has formed a 5-member committee that will be headed by a former retired Supreme Court Judge, Justice Sapre. This committee is a high-powered committee. It has luminaries there as a part of its composition. We have the likes of K.V. Kamath, Nandan Nilekani, Somshekhar Sundaresan, O.P. Bhatt, Justice Devadhar, that will be a part of this committee. Now, the mandate is twofold. Number one, to study some of these questions and issues that have arisen with respect to Adani Group of companies. That's part one. The other is to study the current framework, the existing framework with respect to investor protection and recommendations, if any, required to strengthen the investor protection framework. Investor protection because Supreme Court a number of times has expressed concerns on whether or not the existing framework is sufficient to account for the volatility that was seen in Adani stocks and the subsequent investor wealth erosion. But that's only the first takeaway. The second takeaway is equally relevant. This is a very explicit direction that is coming from the Apex Court to the market regulator SEBI, where the Supreme Court has identified 4 key issues. Number one, market manipulation, Securities Act violation, minimum public shareholding norms, and related party transactions. SEBI has been served with this 4-point mandate to verify whether or not there have been any violations, whether or not there is any merit in the concerns they raised in this Hindenburg report, and whether or not there is scope for any regulatory action. That is a report that SEBI will have to submit within 2 months' time. That report will have to be submitted towards the expert panel, and then subsequently the expert panel will make its recommendation. So a time-bound exercise is what the Apex Court is expecting. The onus now on SEBI as well as this expert panel to go ahead and to take these proceedings forward. Back to you.
Thanks a lot for that, Ashmit.